What's up everyone, it's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and yes, I have been pretty critical of the Nintendo Switch lately because, well, Nintendo have been doing some strange and questionable stuff with it, and yes, while I do own a Nintendo Switch, and I enjoy my Nintendo Switch, I have to throw that in everywhere, otherwise people just call me a fanboy or a hater or whatever. I was actually in the process of making a pro Nintendo video. And yes, it has basis, it will still come out later today, hopefully. But I was in the process of making a pro Nintendo video when they went and did something silly again that I felt like needed to be talked about. So there was a Splatoon 2 Direct today, you know, the whole Nintendo Direct, but it just focused specifically on Splatoon 2, as the name suggested. And they released a lot of new info and a lot of new details and all about Splatoon 2 and everything around it. I'm not going to get into the whole thing because it's not a recap of the whole Direct. I want to talk about one thing in particular. So, the thing, when you look at Splatoon 1, when it launched a few years ago, one of the main criticisms of Splatoon 1, despite, well, including the whole lack of voice chat completely thing, is back in Splatoon 1, game modes and maps, essentially, were on a rotated basis. So I believe it was every 4 hours the rotation would change, and you could get, I think it was one of two potential maps at the time. And that was a choice made by Nintendo that was very questionable, and personally I think it's a bad choice. And it was not well received by a large number of people. I mean, as you'd expect, if you can only play maybe you only have a 2 or 3 hour window after work at night and you want to play some Splatoon, you're forced to play on these two maps for the next, well, the entire night that you have free. So it was a questionable choice in Splatoon 1. We all know that that feature is, well, I call it a feature, but that questionable design choice is coming back in Splatoon 2. But we already know that it's cut down. And what I mean by that is, instead of, I believe it was 4 hours in Splatoon 1 when the rotation changed, it's now down to 2 hours. So it's not as bad. Personally, it still shouldn't actually be like that. It should just give you a random assortment of maps and it picks one, or do some sort of community voting of everyone in the lobby, you pick maps or whatever it is. And that is making return. But one of the new modes that is in Splatoon 2, which is, it's kind of a horde style mode. So if you're familiar with, say, Gears of War or Halo Firefight or anything like that, one of the survival style ones, in Splatoon 2, it's called Salmon Run. And in this mode, you and up to 3 other players can team up together to work cooperatively to fend off hordes of salmon, and you want to collect their power eggs, and it's basically Splatoon's twist on any other type of horde style mode from other games. Now, here's a little something that's strange about it that we found out only today, and it was a bit confusing at first until Nintendo started sending out press releases to clarify and clear up what was actually said. So, what is really, really mind-blowingly stupid about this is that this horde-style mode, the Salmon Run, is only available online at select times. Now, it's also available offline. You can play it offline if you and your friends have Switches and you have copies of Splatoon 2. But to play this Salmon Run mode online, it can only be played at very specific times. And I don't mean very specific times as in, you know, within this 4 hour window every day. It can only be played at designated special event style times. So, before we get any further into it, here is the official blurb that Nintendo sent out when clarifying the whole weird announcement and what they had to clear up, basically. So, here's what they had to say anyway. This new local and online multiplayer mode to Splatoon 2 finds up to 4 players working together to defeat bosses and collect power eggs in a limited amount of time. Each match in Salmon Run lasts for 3 waves, with players having to collect a select number of power eggs, that's worded really strangely, to advance to the next wave. Oh, and at least one player on the team has to stay alive. This last part might be tough since the stage is overrun by salmonid enemies, salmonid, whatever it is, enemies, and giant bosses, each with their own weaknesses. Salmon Run is a frantic multiplayer mode that can be played locally with friends at any time, and is also available to play online at designated times, just like Splatfest. So, how strange is this? Something they've been hyping up the whole time and showing off almost since the first announcement of Splatoon 2. I don't believe it was the very first one where they showed the Salmon Run, but I think it was the second time they showed it that they actually included Salmon Run and all the details. And now, several weeks before release, because I mean the game launches in, what is it? It's currently the 6th, so the game launches in 15 days. Game launches in just over 2 weeks, and now they're giving us a little bit of info saying, oh well, you know that mode we've been showing off and talking about the whole time? Yeah, you can play it like maybe once every couple of weeks, or you can play it for one day every couple of weeks, or one day a month, or something like that. What are they doing? Why does this happen? Who okays and greenlights these decisions? This is absolutely ridiculous. This is a core mode and core feature of the game, and it's available, I don't know, let's call it 1 weekend a month, because let's just use it as our Splatfest comparison. So maybe it's 1 week a month, maybe it's 1 weekend a month. Either way, the fact that something like this is only available at a very select, limited time. What, again, why and who thinks this is a good idea? This all as well ties into the fact that when you think about all this, okay, how is this going to work with their server infrastructure, their online infrastructure? Nintendo have historically had a bad Nintendo online infrastructure, dating all the way back to their GameCube, let alone the Wii and the Wii U, and now the Nintendo Switch. Coupled with the existing games that all use peer-to-peer connections, as well as the fact that come 2018, people will be paying to play these games online. Are the servers going to be up to snuff? Are the servers going to be useless? Are there going to be enough of them? Are they still going to be peer-to-peer? Will there be dedicated servers at all? Because so far it's not looking likely. So how is this going to work when you have game modes like this, which are only available online for a limited period of time, while you're paying to play online? I realize that the pay to play isn't active at the moment, but let's look forward, because, I mean, it's not like the game is only going to be played for a month. And you look at that, how is all of this going to work together? Who greenlights these decisions? Who thinks it's a good idea? It's absolute madness to me. I just don't understand it whatsoever. So it still remains to be seen how it's done, because Nintendo will probably talk more about it in the upcoming couple of weeks, or, I mean, like I said, it's 2 weeks to release, so in the next 2 weeks we might find out a bit about it. We might find a little bit about it shortly after release, because the first one will probably be coming up fairly soon. But I don't know, so far things aren't looking good for this aspect of Splatoon 2, as well as the whole online infrastructure for Nintendo, and some of the very questionable choices that have been put into their actual game development. I mean, you combine all of the stuff we've talked about in the video so far, as well as the whole weird situation with their whole online in general being pushed back and paid for with no servers as we know of at the moment, and you combine all of that with their weird voice chat and app solution, things are looking questionable at best. Anyway, what do you think of this whole thing? Do you think this feature, this mode, should be available all the time online? I think it should, personally, even if I don't plan on ever playing Splatoon 2. I just think, in general, it's something that should be made available the entire time. I don't see why it shouldn't be. So what do you think? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea to keep it as a special event? To keep it limited to certain times? Do you think it's good that you can play it offline whenever you want, but for some reason not online? How do you think it's going to factor in the future, especially when all the online paid subscription services and all come in? Let me know all of that in the comment section below, as well as if you're hyped for Splatoon 2 and why, because, you know, hearing these negatives come out about it, are you still hyped for it or whatever? I'm curious to hear. So let me know all of that in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the rest of the videos in my channel.